Designing homes in New Zealand is not for the faint-hearted. The weather, for one thing. It's all over the place, presenting challenges that architect Dave Stra has taken on his whole career. Dave thinks a lot about environments and about people, and he wants to connect them in the best possible way.
We talk about uplifting the human spirit. How can a building do that? Feeling the breeze on your face, the sun coming through trees, can make you feel a lot better. We want buildings to live and breathe for the people that live in them, but also to deal with the climate that they're in. I've always felt that architecture is not about monument building, it's about people and place. And I think if you understand the place, the weather, the context, and the people's needs, you can get that right. I like to think that buildings that are well done make people feel good. It enhances their life and the life of their children and their wider family.
My name's Matthew Ridge, and I'm lucky enough to be hanging out with Dave, first here at Piha on Auckland's west coast, where he's showing me the first of his 3 favourite New Zealand homes, designed by other architects. It's a house I've heard lots about, but never seen. And to be fair, I still can't.
So here we have a mature Pohutukawa forest. And one of the things here was to say, how can we build in this place?
I can't even see the house, so for me that'll mean that they won't be able to see the sea, and it's a beach house.
Well, it's actually a bush tree house, let's call it that, and I'll show you. You can see when you get in there why it makes sense to be that way. You can see this amazing canopy here, and like just watch your head ducking in under all the boughs and branches of the Pohutukawas.
Pretty amazing. Look at that, with the sunlight coming through, the glass, and there's all these branches. It's pretty incredible, though. Really beautiful. Really beautiful. It's hugely unexpected. The light, the angles, the materials, like it's next level.
The way that this is made is talking back to the trees. So, for example, you've got these big chunky sort of posts here. You can go, okay, this is the strong trunk of the tree. And then you've got all these branches reaching out to hold up the roof. And those amazing black towers.
The battens on it creates a really cool visual experience as well.
The idea, when we look back to the Pohutukawa trees, you see all that wonderful fragmented bark, right? So that's what that's doing. Well, they've got this broken bark-like texture on them. Those black towers are almost like tree stumps.
So they would have had to remove a couple of trees, wouldn't they, to get the house in here?
Totally. Nicky and Lance Herbs, wonderful architects, had it fully plotted. The girth, the spread, the canopies of the trees by their surveyor. Then they worked with how could they put a building in here without destroying too many trees. By building 2 towers to house the bedrooms and garage and bedroom and underneath there was to keep the footprint down, right? So therefore not as much tree clearing. And then the other thing they did is they put their feet, instead of a big concrete slab, even the garage there has got timber piles.
To allow the roots to sort of grow in and around.
You can dance around the roots.
Yeah.
The thing here that's really interesting is having the Pohutukawas there, and that's the prevailing wind, the southwest that comes in hard and fast off the sea, carrying all that salt air. So they're actually working for us there. They're actually protecting us from that salt and that strong wind.
Just noticed, this is like, obviously, the barbecue area, but that is a work of art, isn't it? Like, look at that.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
And like, as part of the idea, this and the bench and that seat, they've all been conceived as built-in pieces of furniture.
Yeah, and like, this is proper workmanship and craftsmanship. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, stunning. I'm gonna go and do some exploring. Really feels like you're in the treetops now, hey?
Oh, totally.
right in amongst it. This mezzanine floor has a much quieter and more private feel compared to the public space below. I love this little bench here. I'm gonna take a seat. Look at that. So you sit here, have a read. It feels like you're actually in the trees with the birds, you know, like it's a magnificent feeling.
You can see the horizon line of the sea out there through the Powera covers too. It's just not a full-on view. You've got both. It's part of the whole story here, I guess. It's just how do you make a place fit into its environment? So there's all these references to trees everywhere. So you've got a certain amount of solid roof and that idea of fraying the edges or sort of breaking the edges down with the glass over the top so you get this beautiful light coming through. You'll notice actually looking out there, the way the trees are leaning is telling you about that prevailing wind that we were talking about. We always look for those signs in the environment. So what's the wind telling us? What are the vegetation telling us about what's going on?
I reckon the master bedroom might be to my left, even though it is cleverly hidden. There we go, it'll be somewhere around here. Super. Here we go again. Yeah, it's
nice connection, eh, to down
amazing. You know, you can yell out, "Hey, darling, I love you this morning. Chance of eggs on toast." As you do. And then you got a beautiful master bedroom and different tones. Black out there, light in here.
Totally, yeah. And that was part of the thinking from the architects, I think, was the idea is that you're now inside the remnant of a trunk of a tree, which is a black tower. Just get that twinkling light coming through the trees.
Yeah, it's lovely, lovely. And we've got this. It's really nice how they've got that screen there for privacy.
Yeah, no, it opens and slides back. It's almost like you've moved the trees again, you know, all the sticks, all the branches.
You're gonna surprise me with some secret mirror, but I can't see it.
No, that's right, we need that, don't we? We've got to polish up the heads.
Absolutely. So
just maybe try this thing here, yeah.
Now that's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the reflection. Outstanding building, beautiful architecture, well built. But for you as an architect, what else does it mean to you?
What's really important to us in our practice is how a building actually responds to its climate. This is a really good example of how a building responds to the place it's in, where you can move screens, shutters, get privacy, open it up, get a breeze through, and connect with the landscape that you're in, this beautiful Powera forest. It's doing it all, and I love that stuff. Kind of saying hello to the Powera. It's amazing.
I love it too, mate. Like, I can see why you brought me here. It's just, it's tranquil, it's peaceful, it's beauty.
My dad used to joke the fact that we came from a long line of cattle thieves. I spent a lot of time as a kid around farms, my uncle's farms in Te Awamutu. I learned a lot about the machinery, landscape, livestock. And with that, you get the weather. They're always talking about the weather. I'm sure it just somehow got embedded in my thinking when I was a kid. So that plays out very much now for me in buildings. We're always trying to look at what is the landscape telling you and what's the weather doing? Can we make a building that suits the weather conditions? Summer, winter, rain, sun, wind, that kind of thing.
For his next example of how buildings work in their environment, Dave Stra has brought me to Funga on the east coast of the Coromandel Peninsula. Here, on a site between the beach and the river, he designed a holiday home that certainly has to handle a fair bit of weather.
In the Pacific Ocean, right out here, you've got that. In fact, you can feel it today, because in fact, you were too, we got the same barber.
Yes.
You've got the nor'easter coming in here, strong wind, and you can see what's happening. You've got the Funga River running out here, and a lot of rural land running in behind us, which is flat, and often you get the wind coming from that direction.
It's really unique, actually. You don't often get a view like that, where it's Pacific Ocean and then right into the rural stuff.
What we've got to do is say, how do we build buildings in this environment?
Because it would definitely funnel through here, eh? It's like a tunnel.
Yeah, totally. The other thing that's interesting is there's a bunch of these red sheds around, which is the old rusty sheds, and that's what we call context. That's archi speak, right? So how do we make a building fit into where it is?
I'd love to see it. Come on, then. This is real interesting, Dave. This is definitely something. Look at that. What a beautiful path leading up to that front door and the height of the glass.
Yeah, we talked about the red shed idea. I mean, you can see it really quite clearly here. And the idea is that how we're trying to connect to this place.
It's amazing. It's a real rural setting, but you can hear the ocean in the background, but you can't see the ocean, right?
Yeah.
But this, to me, is more interesting than looking out at the ocean.
You're right. I mean, this is very special. For me as well, having grown up in and around farms in the Waikato.
It's really neat how you just look straight through the house out to the view.
Yeah, we call these an axis of view, so that's archi speak. I'll teach you a bit of that.
And we've got the red shed through the view.
We have the red shed.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're good spotting. Yeah, good spotting.
Let's go. That's actually quite spectacular, isn't it?
One of the big things about this is the fact that we can open and close all these various doors. So even now we've got a nor'easter coming in off the Pacific Ocean. What we need to do is to be able to kind of shut it down, close it down when we need to.
This is really cool in here. Like, that is really nice. So this is basically the outside. You're outside.
Yeah, it is.
It's
You're
outside,
in the kind
inside.
of an outdoor room, and we've got that translucent light coming through from the polycarbonate ceiling.
Yeah.
These screens on actuators. Do you want to have
An actuator. An actuator is just like a bionic arm.
Yeah.
I reckon the actuator runs off that, right? So,
Yeah.
Oh, it even sounds like a bionic arm.
It does. It is bionic. Yeah, that's right.
So if I take my... Oh, that's cool. So you can just open it a bit, take it off if you want to open it right out.
Yeah, that's it. It provides a little bit of a canopy as well, and we talk about extending your eye out into the landscape. The idea is that you've drawn your eye right out.
Wow, that is really beautiful.
landscape.
So when you've got those open, you've got that open.
All the way through.
It's a really hot day.
Yeah.
This makes a proper outdoor, indoor.
Totally.
It doesn't get any better than that, eh?
We've even got the ability to open up the barbecue sliding shutter as well, so we create some air and some movement through there.
That's cool. Little sneaky job, eh? Look at that. Wow, and that just... And that's heavy, and it just slid beautifully like that. And then you've got that again. Mate, it's so clever, eh?
Well, it's about what you need for where you are.
Yeah,
How do you make a good place for people to live in? Notice in this space, it's much more volume, much more height. What we're going to go now is just to go into the much more private area. So it's smaller scale, it's a little bit more cosy, a bit more private.
And this is the sleeping quarters, pretty much?
Yes,
bedrooms.
All the bedrooms are in this zone. So in this area, put the old builder's hat on and said, okay, how can we keep the costs down? So we've got a truss roof, just simple structure, a lot of jib board, which is one of the cost-effective sort of linings.
But it's snug. It's what you want your bedrooms to feel like. You don't want big cavernous bedrooms with high ceilings.
And that helps pay for areas where you've got high ceilings and beautiful cedar and that kind of stuff. So just trying to be smart about where you spend your money.
It's a remarkable building, a remarkable home that sits perfectly in its landscape.
Yeah, totally. We've still got that thing of respecting where we are, but trying to just belong. As we can see how it's worked in terms of letting it breathe, shutting down, just responding. Farmers are so much about, what's the weather doing? I love the fact that we can make a building think like that, live and breathe and try and respond to where it is.
Yeah, well, you've done a bloody good job. There's no doubt about it.
Cool.
With his passion for design, Dave Stra is a real Renaissance man. But it's not just theory. He's got the hands-on practical stuff down as well. The love put into building detail is a source of great pride for Dave, and the reason becomes evident when you find out his life prior to becoming an architect.
I did a couple of years of uni doing law and commerce, and then I thought, no, I don't want to do that. So I then went building with a mate who'd already done some architecture. Thought, no, I want to get into this school of architecture, but I didn't have enough maths or physics. After being rejected by the admin people, I went and saw the dean, and unbeknownst to me then, he'd done something similar. He'd done building. I managed to blag my way in. I got into the school via the back door in a way. It didn't take long for the slightly younger kids to start calling me 4x2 because I had this practical building experience. When you start, like I did, from the building aspect, initially I was thinking about sheet sizes and lengths of this, that and the other. What you realise after a while, you need to think about design as well, not just the nuts and bolts of building. The magic to me is the combination of understanding building but also looking for the power of design.
Like a lot of Dave's work, Boat Sheds responds to the changing coastal environment. But this time, it's in a suburban city location, and that presented its own complications.
Probably the biggest challenge for this particular site is actually small. It's only around 400 square metres, and it had a substantial two-storey building right on the neighbouring boundary. In terms of orientation, light, sun, how do you deal with that? Catching the light and the sun at different times of day. When I first met the clients, I think I counted something like 26 watercraft, which means they're seriously into boating. So very much the notion of these should be boat sheds. We have these three little forms of gables referencing the traditional boat sheds that you see all around the world. This is the northeastern facade here, which is very much about engaging with the ocean, getting the sea breezes, views down to the Pahutakawas. And then this part of the building is slid forward to shroud the house adjacent to us. We've shut out the neighbour by bringing this further forward. So this space is effectively we're leading now into the breezeway that runs right through the core of the building here. From the upper level there right through the building. It's very transparent, it offers the neighbours a really nice aspect. We've got a really big moment here where do you park a door or a wall or a window? The idea is that this one we can send straight up into the air. A key thing in terms of letting the air move through the building, be able to open it, close it, how do we make that work so that you can work it depending on what the weather conditions are doing.
With what is like a modern take on an old double-hung window, this space is transformed from a dining room into what now feels more like a veranda.
We talk about climate-responsive buildings, so if you can open, close, ventilate, shade, shelter, screen spaces, then you're doing much more than just building a bunch of rooms. And this is rather like a boat, I suppose. The idea that you can trim sails, you can fold stuff down, you can hide from the wind, you can move with the wind. It's very much about a building that is interactive with its place. And that's a very important thing to us as a practice. One of the things we often talk about is compression and release. The idea that sometimes it's nice to have something lower ceiling, cosier, and then sometimes to have a ceiling soaring up above you. This does a few things. It's very much about the transparency coming through from the streets. During the day, it's nice and open, but we can shut it down with blinds in the evening. One critical thing for us here is to try and look at how can we get that late afternoon winter sun into this building when we've got virtually a 3-storey building hard on our boundaries. The idea was to cut this incision in the side of the building, and then pretty much it's facing winter sunsets. Got this amazing ability to get all this beautiful light through, right through in that time of year when typically we wouldn't be seeing anything.
And once that light and warmth is in the house, it's what Dave does with it that contributes so much to this standout design.
So it's heating up our thermal mass, these concrete structures that we've put in here. Then we wanted to get the light and the sun to penetrate deeply into the building, so we put a glass bridge through here, which meant that the light and the sun could come right through. We talk about uplifting the human spirit. How can a building do that? And, you know, feeling the sun on our back or on our face, coming up in the morning, and just being able to get in and out of the sun and the light can make you feel a lot better. So we want buildings to live and breathe for the people that live in them, but also to deal with the climate that they're in.
Homeowners Greg Lee and Rachel Rush entered the design process with a well-researched understanding of Dave's work.
Dave's houses, they're houses to be lived in. Having seen that in his other houses, you know, we knew we wanted that in our house, and he's really helped bring that to life.
It gave me an enormous amount of confidence about the way he approached buildability of the house. There's not many architects I don't think you necessarily get that confidence from in the same way. That sort of passion, you know, Dave would love to have a debate about, oh, you know, we're going to do this join this way, or we're going to use this particular tile or timber, and he just loves it. He absolutely loves it, and so we'd have these great debates about things, and that's what makes the whole process fun.
It's not about the architect as God, it's the fact that there's so many people contribute to making any buildings. And it's always a collaboration. It's between the clients, the builders, contractors, and the architects. If you get it right, if everyone's on the same page and working together, it's how you get the best results.
We're in Makarori, just north of Gisborne, to see the second of Dave's favourite New Zealand homes, designed by other architects.
Well, we've picked a pearl a day, haven't we?
We sure have.
Absolute
We
blinder.
sure have.
Holy moly. I tell you what, Dave, it's not often you come to the beach and you bring an umbrella.
No, that's true.
But it is absolutely spectacular.
That surf right on your doorstep.
It's certainly wild and woolly, isn't it?
Oh, totally. It's on the east coast of North Island, but it's facing south, which is a little bit unusual.
So the sun would rise there and then come across the back of the house.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's coming right in through the back.
Yes.
So how do we bring the sun in from up above? One of the interesting stories about this one is we talk about building sheds. We joke about elegant sheds being, or not even joke, say that, hey, it's elegant, this is a really nice shed. And this one, the idea of offset, instead of a normal rectangular building, parts of this building have been offset, slipped and slid on each other. You can actually get different views and lights.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Well, yeah. Hopefully you will be, mate.
It's definitely light, bright and airy, isn't it?
Yeah, even despite the weather we're in. This is where it shows you what's going on here. So we've got the north that way.
Yes.
And the south is where this fantastic ocean is. So the reason for all the stuff up above us here is to actually bring in all that northern light. Otherwise,
Pretty dark.
Pretty dark and pretty cold.
But it's really nice how your eyes lit up by the angle of the roof.
It does.
And this little area out here is awesome.
Obviously, we've got the rain today, but it's protected from the wind. So the idea is that you can use this in different weather conditions.
Yeah.
So if it's really howling in from there, you can come around here. And it's obviously the other thing is it's private.
It's a good spot, isn't it? Really good spot. We were talking about that offset. Visually, I can see what you mean. Like, it's a really neat view through there.
Great thing about it is that you can see by slipping and sliding these three sheds, you get this great aspect out to the sea, rather than just say a straight line that would only give you one aspect.
Exactly, like just gives you that something a little bit extra. It's quite an amazing house, actually. The more you take in of it, the better it gets, eh?
Yeah. So now here, what we've done is moved away from the public spaces and we're moving down into the private zone. Got a series of bathrooms and bedrooms. And we've still got this thing, as you picked up before, this raking roof, which is taking us all the way up to capture that northern sun.
Which would be massively important, wouldn't it? Like, without that northern sun coming in here, it'd be quite dark in the back. Unless you've got an architect to guide you on those sorts of things, lots of people would miss that.
Yeah, that's true. And thinking about this is thinking about the climate, which is why I think I really love this house.
What I really love about this is, like, to the layman they'd go, how come you haven't taken the glass all the way across? But this room here, this little nook, wouldn't be the same if it had glass here, just like it's with the low ceiling, the fireplace in there. It just becomes a place to chill and get right and cosy.
And it's great you pick up on that, because that's the thing, is you've got these spaces that have got much more volume, higher and stuff. And this creates a lower space, cozier. I love it.
What does this place mean to you?
I think it's fantastic because it plays out a lot of the beliefs that we have in our practice. It's the idea of how do you deal with the environment, the climate, and this whole notion of offsetting is happening everywhere. To me, it's more about why don't we do a lot more stuff like this, where it actually works for the people and trying to make it work for where it is.
It's not a great beach day for sure, but imagine Makarori on a blistering summer's afternoon. And keen young surfer Andrew Vetti staying here in what was his grandparents' batch. In time, Andrew built a family home on the site where he, wife Vanessa, daughter Safi and son Finn, all surfers, lived full-time.
Remember my dad sketching his dream home and seeing if we liked it or seeing if Mum liked it, and then taking it to a few different architects until he found the perfect match for him. This house means a lot to Finn and I and Mum, as Dad passed away now, and this was his dream location and dream home to live in, and environment to live in as well, because he loved all things ocean. I've learnt to surf straight out front of this house. Mum surfs out there, we all go out there together. Me and my brother Finn, we got competitive in surfing and started doing competitions nationally and then took it internationally. If I hadn't have grown up in this house, I don't think I would have excelled in this sport that is surfing, and to learn about the ocean at such a young age. I think it's really special that Dad's legacy kind of lives on, and I'd be so proud.
It must be supremely satisfying for architects to know their buildings make such a difference to people's lives. It's a huge responsibility and a big opportunity, and something Dave Stra holds very dear. It's clear that designing for people is a value at the heart of Dave's practice. So when the opportunity came along for Dave to design a home for his own family, the most important people in his life, well, the stakes couldn't get higher. Not only that, but the site he bought on Auckland's City Fringe in 2002 came with significant design challenges.
The orientation, you could say we're not ideal. We're a great east-west orientation. This is a landscape bridge running along a plateau and then down into the valley, which is an amazing bird path. But to the north, we've got this rather large blob of concrete block flats with a lot of windows looking in on us. So how do we get the sun in, but also have privacy? There's 20,000 cars go up and down this road every day. So you've got the noise, you've got the pollution. Those were very powerful constraints.
And because Dave was effectively his own client, he felt able to try out some new ideas to make the most of the site within those constraints.
So when we close this door here, it's insulated, it buffers the sound from out on the road, and Being in this space, this lung, we've got really strong vegetation. As people, we connect with that. It makes us feel good. Really beautiful, tranquil space because you've got the plants breathing oxygen. We're doing a good thing with the air. So this space is very much about the dominant neighbour to the north, and so what we've tried to do is bring thermal mass, this great lump of concrete that's storing all that heat and keeping it inside the building. So we've almost lifted it up. We're trying to get the sun in, so we couldn't get much in low level, so we've brought it in up high. And this is very much a part of the transition between east and west, which is really powerful in the sense of offering people in the street a view through the valley. We're offering something back to the people go up and down the street. Above us here we have a metaphor for a cradle. The idea is that we put all our kids, grandkids, friends, family are able to occupy the 2 bedrooms and bathroom. It's something that is a really special thing for us to be able to have our friends and our family and cater for it here. We've set up something for Cole, my wife and I, that would last us into our old age. How do you create a space that's not like a big cavern? So we've got a series of different spaces in here that cater for different uses. That was important. We didn't want a 2-bedroom apartment. This is something that we quite commonly do in a lot of our projects, the idea of having a pool alongside our building so that we can use it to precondition the air and move the air through the space. I've taught all my granddaughters to lie on their back and watch the beautiful dancing light that dances across the ceilings. It's something that, you know, they seem to still connect to, so that's a wonderful thing. It's quite tranquil, but it can also be quite vibrant as the air moves across it. Just looking across any kind of water body is something that I think as human beings, we connect with. Maybe it's primal, we just feel comfortable with it.
And the importance of connecting with nature meant making the most of the natural elements the site already had.
These large steel doors gives us the ability to open the space right up, right out into all of this beautiful vegetation in the valley, and it's something that connects east to west, which is really important, so a landscape to landscape. Really beautiful. It's so powerful when you can bring the landscape back into your building space. Our climate is so changeable in New Zealand, and we get a lot of rain, we can get wind-driven rain, we get hot sun, it varies. The idea is to try and create a space that's in between outside and inside. It's a space in between that deals with the changes in climate. It doesn't matter who you are, you're still affected by a beautiful landscape. So I think it's something that we should therefore encompass in all our buildings. Not only just as a visual thing, but as something that can enhance your life.
With over 40 years' experience in architecture, Dave Stra has gathered a wealth of knowledge and has a clear vision of what he needs to do going forward.
It's a question of saying, what kind of legacy do you leave behind for your family? I'm now the patriarch of the Strawn family. I am the oldest of 5 kids. We've got 4 kids of our own and 5 granddaughters. I was always building stuff with our 3 sons as they were growing up. That's the existing garage, so you'd stitch it into the old slab and pour it over the top. They kind of learnt building by osmosis, and now we have 2 builder's sons and one's a landscape architect. What's wonderful is we often collaborate on stuff together as well, you know? And then beyond our family and our friends, there's what I call our work family, and I can't see any reason why we would treat them any differently. Awesome, mate. Great team together. We're going to smash it. One of the things I think is a responsibility as you get older is how do you pass on knowledge? I was lucky enough, maybe 22 years or so ago, I met a really lovely Aboriginal elder called Uncle Max Dulamun Harrison. He sadly died a year or so ago, and he had the thing of, if you want to hang on to something, give it away. If he wanted to pass on the knowledge of him being an Aboriginal elder, he had to share it with his grandsons and the kids. That means that that knowledge remains, it doesn't get lost.
Stop and start the topping slabs and then just fill it.
A big part of the responsibility, of course, is to say how the younger generation are going to cope with the changing world and massive climate change. That generation needs to be prepared for that. It's going to be their problem, not mine, but the thing is, if we don't, as senior, let's say practicing architects, do something about it, we have a responsibility to pass on what we know now and to be held accountable. Like, what are we doing that's going to make a difference? And I guess that would be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it, when you finally kick the bucket to be able to say, I actually made, you know, even a little bit of difference to the world that you lived in.
And so, to a particularly beautiful part of the world, the Bay of Islands in Northland, where Dave has taken me to see the last of his 3 favourite New Zealand homes, designed by other architects.
Cheers, me old mate.
To Moturua Island, most of which is a scenic reserve and bird sanctuary, but also includes a privately owned beach and holiday home complex.
This particular building, which we can't see, I think it's just amazing that it responds to its place, what we call a spirit of place, and the way it lays into the landscape. And more importantly, it's like an elegant shed, and I love elegant sheds.
You do like elegant sheds.
I do, you've got that.
But I'm really interested. Are we going through this tunnel here?
Yep.
Holy.
That's the way to get there.
There we go.
The tunnel connects the wharf to the next door bay and avoided having to cut access over the hill through the native bush.
Holy. It's certainly whetting the appetite, isn't it?
Totally.
I've got a funny feeling this might be probably the best looking shed I've ever seen in my life.
Could well be.
This multi-award winning island complex was designed by one of New Zealand's leading architects, Pete Bosley, who looks to have elevated the basic shed form into an art form.
For want of a better word, it's spectacular, isn't it?
Seriously.
It sits so perfectly, how it just cantilevers down the hill.
And it runs down and it peels off. And so what happens is there's little bits that run in and out. And sometimes we call them fingers, right?
Oh, I can see
Little
those fingers.
Fingers that stretch out and connect with the landscape or, you know, the bush behind or out into the amazing bay. I think it plays out into a lot of stuff, I believe. For example, the way the building steps beautifully up following the landform. So to me, that's respecting it. What you notice is the main house is not stuck right in the middle. They've put the buildings around the edges, so you get this gathering space and this like almost landscape breathing space in the middle. Be a good spot to holiday, wouldn't it?
It might just be.
As Dave and I get closer, I really start to appreciate how light and airy these pavilions are, and the beautiful timber detailing. The bottom pavilion features a split-level kitchen and living area, and then, up the slope, are the bedroom pavilions, all with their own private terraces and views on either side.
Notice the transparency is very powerful. No matter what the wind's doing, you can be either side of the building and you can connect with what's going on. I love that. And look at that, for just like a lazy roof, just running on down.
It really is outstanding. And am I right in saying it's 20 years old?
Yep.
But look at it, like it looks like it's been built like yesterday. It looks futuristic.
Definitely very, very cool. And it's quite interesting that Pete, the architect, and myself, we were trained by a guy called Dave Mitchell, who's an awesome teacher at architecture school, and he coined the term, the elegant shed. That's where the connection to sheds and elegant come from.
Okay, yeah.
Sheds are usually pretty basic utilitarian things, but of course this is so elegant because of the joinery. You notice the way the windows go all the way up, the glazing goes right up to the underside of the roof. So it is like it's kind of floating, isn't it?
I tell you what, you'd need a full-time glass cleaner.
You would for sure, you would.
I wonder if I
a lot
can
of
pitch in.
maintenance.
I could probably pitch in for that job. There might be a little house somewhere on there that they could just throw me in.
There will be, yeah.
And I
You
could just-
could have 2 weeks
I could
at
just
it.
be full on. 2 weeks, it'd take me all year. I'd just be full on cleaning the glass.
I'm pretty sure we can all agree the exterior is next level. But what about the inside?
It is unreal. Look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? And you can get the read here, the way all the levels work. There's 9 flights of stairs that are going with the land. So, you know, there's a bit of jive in doing that, but you don't have to dig a big hole. But what's beautiful is it just lays into the landscape. No matter where you are, you're connecting out into the land.
It is just on, pretty much on stilts, eh?
Yeah,
With just
yeah.
walls and glass.
But it's highly crafted.
We're a bit gobsmacked by the house. We haven't even talked about the view, you know, like it's just where it's parked is ridiculously beautiful. Oh, yeah.
We're talking about that idea of the transparency, but also the breeze being able to come through. You can feel it now. It's coming through from the sea and picking up right through into the bush.
As Dave has told me right through our time together, buildings are best when they're designed to suit their site and their purpose. Because this island complex is primarily for people on holiday, it's appropriate everything's so quiet and laid back. Just so relaxing. It's also a brilliant place to end my time with my mate Dave.
It's amazing to be here for sure. I mean, it's like a real privilege. You get to see these amazing buildings.
Just a marvellous way to finish it. And I just wanted to say it's been a real privilege and a pleasure travelling the country with you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We've had
Same for me, fun.
We've had a real good laugh. We've had a lot of fun. But to end it like this, well, with that...
Yeah, pretty special. Pretty special, eh?
Super. Thank you so much.
Cool.